welcome to our special program, Campus Debate. The present system of juvenile justice was introduced in India in 1986 and an improved version came in 2000 with more changes being made later on. The focus was not on punishment but on rehabilitation. But recently, in the wake of several incidents, there has been a demand of having a relook at the entire juvenile justice system. And for a debate on this, we are today in Indian Law Institute in New Delhi with a group of young students from the LLM class. All of you, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV and program Campus Debate. Let me straight away come to the most contentious point which is being debated at several forums as far as Juvenile Justice Act is concerned. That's JJ Act if I am not wrong, which you guys fondly call it as. Section 2K of the JJ Act defines juvenile as somebody who is not attained the age of 18 years. I hope I'm not wrong. Okay, great. Now the demand is that this particular age limit should be brought down, and the demand sustained or rather gained momentum after that horrific incident on 16th of December 2012 in the national capital. Several petitions were filed in the Supreme Court as well. All of you know that. They were dismissed. But I want to know as to what is your viewpoint. Is the upper age limit of 18 years perfectly suited for a juvenile, or it should be brought down to say 16 or 17, whichever you want to say? Okay, let's begin with him.
My point that I want to discuss here is Juvenile Act Section 2K, which talks about a child who is below 18 years of age. He will be treated differently. He should be given a different treatment. He should not be taken. He should be taken apart with the others. See why? Why it should be like this? Let's go back to the ancient time. It used to be a time where we were following the deterrent theory. Means it was a theory where we were asking about eye for an eye. The punishment should be such that the person should not dare to do such an act. But we moved ahead, and now we are following the reformative kind of thing, where we are looking for the reformatory form of the development. The person should not do it again and again. So, and let's take this example where the incidents of 16 December Delhi rape case, where there is a lot of hue and cry that the age limit should be reduced. At the same time, there should be a harsher punishment for the people who are committing such kind of crimes. But why not we look back at the reasons which are responsible for this? A guy does not turn into a monster in a day.
Okay, great, important point. And a holistic overview of what exactly the situation is, and what I gather from his point is that he is in the favor that the age limit should be limited to 18 years. Anyone differs? Okay, let me come one by one.
I absolutely empathize with what he has to say about the reformative model, but the thing is that that is not the only thing that we should look at. There are like other considerations also in this aspect. For example, that he took that example in the December 16 case. But if you look at the model in other countries, I've been to juvenile homes, and whosoever I spoke to over there, they said, okay, we should not reduce the age model. They all said that. But if you look at other countries, they all have certain exceptional circumstances. That is, in certain, they have an exceptional clause so that we do not tie the judiciary hands down. If you look at the current JJ Act, there's absolutely no provision. The maximum punishment is 3 years in a special home.
Important, very important. He's saying, let's not tie the hands of the judiciary by keeping all the eggs in the same basket. Yes, I guess you want to say something.
Yes, because the rationale which they have put forth while incorporating this age of 18 years is based upon strong medical as well as psychological evidence. And moreover, we are a signatory to Convention of Rights of Child by United Nations. There also, they define a child who is of the age below the age of 18 years. So rationale is correct, but as far as one of the speaker has pointed out, that we need to consider some of the exceptions in the wake of those crimes which are more heinous and which needs more punishment or a harsher punishment, which is not being provided under the Act, because the Act provides that maximum punishment should be 3 years.
Maximum punishment should be 3 years. Exceptions should be considered. We'll come to this point later, but let's for now stick on to age.
considering the age, I think there should be a balance of interest. Balance of interest as in the interest of the society and the interest of the person, the juvenile who is convicted. For example, a person who has turned 17 years and 6 months of age is treated as a juvenile and is being, for example, convicted of a heinous crime. Then he gets out of the league. He gets out of the criminal league. Then what happens? Even if he commits a crime, he is out of it. So we need to maintain a balance of interest between a person who is capable of committing a crime which even an adult of 18, 19, 22 years of age can commit and is responsible and is a threat to the society overall. So we need to have a balance of interest.
Okay, we need to have a balance of interest. I guess you wanted to say something.
My opinion on this is that the age, I don't think it should get reduced, because you are right now, because of that horrific incident, we are focusing on just one incident, but there are so many children, and so keeping in view the overall circumstances, I feel the age is fine. What is important is the certainty of the punishment.
Okay, age is fine. Certainty of punishment will, yes, certainty of punishment will come to the second point, certainty of punishment. But as far as age is concerned, let me also throw one more point out here, which even my friend pointed out about the scientific method. The scientific method and the UN convention which is behind this theory of limiting the upper age limit to 18 years. There is a very important scientific theory which says that the age of 18 was arrived at because it is the mean age of between 15 to 22. You add 15 plus 22, it comes to 37. The average divided by 2 is around 18 and a half. So they arrived at an age limit of around 18 years. And there is a UN convention as well. But the point is, has the time come to take a relook at, given the present circumstances? And I am not only saying one incidental case, as she pointed out, the NCRB records, that's the National Crime Records Bureau, their data says that between 2001 and 2011, the percentile increase in the crimes committed by juveniles is 40%. And if you talk about the crimes committed against women, then it's double the rate for rape, triple the rate for murders, and 5 times the rate for kidnapping of women and girls. So does this force us to go and have a relook? Okay, too many hands. I'll try and come to all of you one by one. Let me start from the last line now.
One issue is that if we change the age for crimes from 18 to some lower age limit, so are we ready to reduce the age for contractual relations as well? We treat a minor below 18 incompetent to contract, but for criminal cases we treat him as a criminal even though he's below 18. Would that be justifiable in that case?
Okay, consequential, interrelated, consequential points coming in. Yes, please.
There are repercussions in the other acts also, like as my friend said, the Contract Act, the Constitution, right to vote, the age is 18. And law is meant for the people, not people are meant for the law.
Okay, law is made for the people are not made for the law, and there are several other important points which have been raised by my friends out there in that corner, is that if you reduce the age in the JJ Act from 18 to 16, then there are several other related areas as well, right to vote, the contractual agreement, we should go ahead and bring down age in that as well. Too many hands, I see too many hands, so I'll have to take a short break out here. This particular discussion debate is getting really interesting. I'm sure all of you will have to have a lot of points to go ahead and talk about this. But before that, let's take a short break out here. Welcome back. We're in the middle of a very interesting debate out here in the Indian Law Institute in New Delhi, and my friends pointed out several concerns as far as the reducing of age is concerned in the JJ Act from 18 to say 16 or maybe 17. I have another point to put in out here, and some of you pointed out in the first segment as well. That is a very related portion of this particular act. The limit for maximum limit to which a juvenile offender can be sentenced, that's 3 years, irrespective of the crimes committed by that offender. It can be robbery, it can be kidnapping, it can be rape, it can be murder. The sentencing can only be for 3 years. Is this a clause, if not age, then at least is this a clause which needs a change? Should we go ahead and at least categorize?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yes.
Actually, we need some gradation of the juvenile justice age, like that 12 to 14, 14 to 16, and 16 to 18. Even if you look at the even convention law, they have not provide any class, specific class of the age group. You can run the penal class against any over the 14 years of age of any child. If you look at the crime committed by the children, the maximum crime committed by the crime against the women are from 16 to the 18. If we categorize all these children's group, then we can have the 12 to 14, 14 to 16, and 16 to 18. Then we can be able to get the more punishment to those of children who has become the adult and on the verge of the adulthood.
Okay, he says that it should be categorized. I'll come to you definitely. We have had one chance. Let me go back in the last line.
Yeah, after various Supreme Court judgments, the Juvenile Justice Act is now also applicable to acts like atrocities on scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and NDPS acts. So of course the heinous crimes are also covered under here now. But the point is we cannot separate these two things: the lowering of age and the heinousness of the crime also. So it has to be related. We cannot ignore the fact that there is a strong lobby of social activists who work for the rights of children. We cannot ignore the fact that India is a signatory to the Convention on the Rights of Child, and so hence the lobbies force they base their claims on the fact that this it is the state which has lagged to provide basic education, basic employment to these children.
Okay, you're right. It is the state which has lagged. We'll come to that point whether the state has actually fulfilled its responsibility or not. But a very interesting and wonderful point made by her is that we cannot go ahead and separate these two issues, that is lowering of age and increasing the maximum sentence. Yes, please.
Well, basically we have to see that whenever a juvenile has committed a crime, we have to see some of the factors why he have committed the crime. First of all, we have to see the nature of mens rea. The concept of mens rea is very important while committing the crime. Next, we have to see under which circumstances he have committed the crime. If it is a heinous crime, then in countries like US and UK, there are provisions where if a juvenile has committed a heinous crime, then that particular person is not covered under juvenile jurisdiction. It has been tried in the adult court. So in India also, if we have to see that what type of crimes that particular juvenile is committed. If he has committed heinous crime, then we should try him under an adult court and not under. And also we have to see the various factors we have committed a crime. There may be many factors like poverty, education. It is not only that out of any sadistic pleasure he have committed a rape or murdered someone. It is there are some background factors we have to see.
Okay, the background factors will have to be taken note of. Yes, I'll come to you. Yes, please.
My friend just pointed out that there is harsher punishments when it comes to countries like US, but have they been able to achieve a lesser crime rate committed by juveniles by giving harsh punishments? We should actually think about that.
A very interesting point. Have they been able to achieve a lesser crime rate? Because if, as far as I can remember, as far as the juvenile justice system in the United States is concerned, they changed their system around, say, if I'm not wrong, around 2 decades back. They brought in the tougher system for juveniles, but the percentile of the crimes committed by juveniles in the United States of America is almost 50% of the overall crime rate, whereas in India, it's around 2.1%, the last I read.
After this December 16th incident, the women rights are being concentrated and juvenile justice rights are being suppressed and they are being sidelined. Actually, the purpose of Juvenile Justice Act is for rehabilitation and for the betterment of the child's personality. But 3 years punishment is enough even if he has committed heinous crime or not, because 3 years is maximum time for any person to reform. If you impose harsher punishment for more punishment for harsher crime, then this then it will be silent. The purpose of Juvenile Justice Act will be silent entirely.
Okay, most of you, as far as I can gather, so far are saying that there is no point of increasing the maximum term of sentence for 3 years. Some of you also say that both lowering the age and increasing the sentence should be interrelated. One of you obviously pointed out that it should be segregated between 12 to 14, 14 to 16, 16 to 18. Does anyone out here strongly believes that the maximum amount of sentence given should be more correlated to the crime, the kind of crime which has been committed? Yes?
Actually, when we talk about criminal law, then the whole object of criminal law is, to some extent, is deterrence and also retribution. Retribution to the victim and the family of the victim. So, yes, it is true that our the objective of juvenile justice system is reformation of the juvenile who has committed a crime. But we should not lose sight of this fact that if we do not increase the bar, increase the maximum limit of the punishment in those cases where the maximum punishment for a person who is not juvenile is life imprisonment or death, then we are in a way doing injustice to the person and to the victim and his family members, because he has no way to look forward in that case.
Okay, wait. Anyone else who agrees with my friend out here? Yes, I'll come to you. Just give me 1 second.
As per my friend said, nothing is permanent except change. So there should be a relook in the JJ Act.
There should be a relook in the JJ Act. We are supposed to take a break, but I'll bring in my friend out here.
There may be instances that in future, if the higher amount of the punishment or say higher correlated amount of the punishment is pronounced in such kind of the cases where an offence has been committed by any children in conflict with law, so there would be better chances that a deterrence effect will create in the society, and the children of that particular age group may somehow deter themselves to commit such kind of crimes.
Such kind of crimes. Okay, great, wonderful. We'll take a short break out here, but when we come back, we'll ask the students out here, these friends of mine who are from the Indian Law Institute, as to what about the situation of those children in conflict with law as far as the kind of remand homes or reformatories, so called, they are in. Welcome back. This debate is getting interesting with each passing second, I must say. When we went into the break, the point made by most of you was that yes, there is an urgent need for a change in the amount of sentence which is prescribed in the law. Now, these children in conflict with law, if they are found guilty or even during the trial period, they are being sent to a observation home. And going by the data I have, the situation is not very positive as far as observation homes are concerned. There are around 850 observation homes. The total capacity is around 35,000, whereas again the data from NCRB says that at present there are 1.7 million juvenile offenders in this country. So, is the state or the society also not failing on its part as far as their contribution is concerned? Yes, I'll definitely come to you.
There is the article 39E and 39EF directly says that the state will take some actions for the human right of the children and all the things. Even in the section article 45 and article 47, it tells about that. So there in the remand home or the observation house also, or the reformative house, which is just for the prevention or just rehabilitation of the person who have the children who have came to the accused. So just there the condition is not so well.
Yes, exactly what my point is, and you rightly pointed out the condition of these observation homes is, forget about up to the satisfactory mark. It's not even and some of the experts tell me it's not even livable. The conditions are not even perfect for living.
Yeah, I just want to say that, see, in my opinion, the entire discussion, I personally feel, and even when I'm reading the newspapers on this topic, is focusing on we should change the law. In my perspective, the law is fine. It's about the implementation. If we don't implement, see, this is something which is happening. I have seen it in other situations also. We are in a very hurry to change the law. The problem is not with the law, the problem is with its implementation. If the people don't work properly, no matter whatever, you get the best of the law, it will not work. It's the people who make or break the law.
The problem is with the implementation, and I guess we've come to the exact point in this third segment, the last segment of our program, when we are saying that if the problem is with the implementation. It says 3 years in an observation home. It also says that during those 3 years, vocational education, vocational training needs to be provided to these juveniles so that they can get a chance on, to lead a normal life, try and find an employment. But do you guys believe, or rather actually think that enough focus is being given, or a seriousness is attached to the fact that these children in conflict also need a second chance at life?
Well, there is a very good proverb that poverty is the mother of all crimes. Once you take care of the poverty, all the things will be taken care of. You talk about a lot of things that one thing I accept, there is a complete flare on the parts of the state. There is no committee which will be observing the implementation at the ground level, whether the laws is being followed or not. See, there is not good fund which is being allocated to these houses so that the reformatory action can be taken into full consideration.
Okay, yeah, I agreed. I'll definitely come to you, but my friend out here has something.
Regarding the observation homes, certain instances had been noted wherein it has been stated that the persons who are age of the majority, maybe the 20-year or the 22-year or more than 20 year of the age, they somehow get managed certain certificates or the documents on the basis of which they claim that we are the minor, and the persons who are major in the age, in reality, they are somehow staying in the observation homes. The provisions of the JJ Act merely reformatory in the nature, so that a person who is of tender age, if somehow he had done certain crime,
can go ahead and find a way to lead a normal life when the maximum sentence is over. Yes, I'll come to you, and after that I'll have one very important point to raise.
Yeah, the most of the debate has been concerned first about the age factor and then about the reformatory places. But as far as my friend talks about implementation, let me tell you the Act itself is not perfect. There are many lacunas in the Act, so implementation only comes when the Act has all the provisions.
Okay, a counterpoint. The Act also has many lacunas. Do you believe so?
Yes, but I have a separate point to raise that Article 21A, the right to education, took ages for such an elementary right to be incorporated into the Constitution, and we believe in just punishing people straight away. That should be looked at from a holistic perspective. Instead of just punishing, give them the elementary rights that they require, and then let's talk about reformation and stuff.
Give them the elementary rights that they require before talking about the punishment. But a very interesting fact, and one of the important points which I wanted to have a discussion with you guys on was on how a huge number of cases have piled up as far as juvenile justice is concerned. Yes, I agree. The pendency of cases is huge in almost all spheres, be it criminal cases, civil cases, High Court, Supreme Court, District Court. But in juvenile courts, the point is that the juvenile court, as far as I understand, as far as I know, meets only twice in a week. It's supposed to meet only twice in a week, and that too for almost half a day, if I'm not wrong. Is there a need for a relook as to how we are trying to dispense justice as well? Okay, let me go back to the last row once again. Yes, please.
At the risk of actually going a little digressing from the topic, what I would like to say is that our legislatures, our parliamentarians, they should understand that the youth, these juveniles are actually the youth of today, and tomorrow they'll turn into hardened criminals. And if proper concrete steps are not taken today, then it is us who will suffer tomorrow, because the system is not really taking anything seriously. You cannot keep crying, and as the public cannot keep on we cannot have demonstrations and we cannot have slogans all the time. The government has to accept once and for all. It's a Rajya Sabha debate. The government has to get the message very clear that please, go ahead, do something about the future, because these people, they're not just juvenile delinquents, they are the very future of our nation.
Okay, the government has to understand, and as she pointed out, what are the better form than to put it on Rajya Sabha television? Yes, I have a little less time. Let me go to him since.
Yeah, I want to add to this. The JJ Act itself says that juvenile justice boards should be constituted in every district of every state in India. But what is happening this time? Most of the states in India, they don't have juvenile justice boards, and which is creating a lot of problems, because other authorities, they are going to try these juveniles, and they don't have the special expertise of child psychology and child welfare. And we need to sensitize our police, and juvenile justice police units should be there in every district.
So this was an interesting debate which we had in the Indian Law Institute in New Delhi about whether or not there is a need for a change in the juvenile justice system. We have heard so many arguments both in favor and against of this particular topic, but one thing which has definitely come out of this particular debate is the very fact that there are several viewpoints or several pointers which will have to be taken care of while thinking or while trying to find a better way as far as juvenile justice system and its dispensation is concerned. We'll come back next week with a separate topic and with a different group of students. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.